This is Talking Voiceovers with me, Gail Goslin, where we interview professionals of the voiceover industry in South Africa to inspire each other and newcomers. Today we're going to be talking to Rowan Studti. Welcome, Rowan.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So tell us, you are an actor in film and theatre, and you also do voiceovers. Tell us your whole story.
So yeah, and I love playing around with voice. My friends always saying I've sent bizarre voiceovers, voice notes on WhatsApp. Just kind of do that on a daily basis.
Where did you learn voiceovers?
So where I studied at ACT Cape Town.
ACT?
Yeah, at ACT Film Academy. ACT Cape Town Film Academy. So it's a bit more of a mouthful. Could be a tongue twister too. So
that would be a good place to go and get a voiceover course.
Yeah, definitely. They do throughout the year. They do short courses, so that would be a great one to do. They do a specific voiceover course where you learn your hard sales, soft sale, corporate, conversational, and then at the end of that course, you have you get a demo tape. As your voice grows and changes, obviously you need to do new tapes, the same as like an actor's show reel. And obviously your experience within time, you get better. I know there are other specialized boot camps that you could do if you didn't have the time, let's say, to do a 6-week course. Maybe you have only 2 weekends. You could do one of those crash courses that I know there's a couple of those. Obviously do your research and see what reviews say they're very good. Yeah, so most of my bulk of work actually has been voice dubbing more than voice ads. I've done voice ads too, but most of it's been voice dubbing, which I enjoy doing for various studios in Cape Town, but one in which I work at mostly. So I've been doing that for a good couple of years. Tell us
more about that, voice dubbing.
So I've done some of the content on the DSTV channel for the Indian channel, like for Bollywood films, which is just your neutral South African. But my best work has been when I've done stuff for Iranian content, and you convert it into you do English, but it's got to be an American accent or British. And that's been my best, because then I'm getting to work on my accent while I'm there, which will then feed into my work on film and TV for the international stuff. Yeah. And then I've had stuff for Japanese animation as well, dubbing that, which was my absolute best. That was my first introduction to doing animation. That by far is amazing. Yeah, I think doing dubbing work's great. Some actors don't enjoy it, but I'd say if you can do accent work, then it really benefits one, because you need to work on your accent work anyway.
So what's it like doing dubbing? Do you go into the studio and you get directed as if you were on stage, or do you direct yourself? Do you figure it out?
Yeah, that would be why certain actors don't like it, because there's not a lot of direction involved. These guys are on such tight deadlines that sometimes, unfortunately, quantity is over quality. So it can be frustrating sometimes as an actor, because they got to hit it out, but then sometimes you've got to come back in the studio and redo things. So these guys, they're under intense deadlines, but then the guys want the quality, but they're hitting them with that quantity and deadlines. So you've got to learn how to work quickly. And the dubbing studios have done their best to kind of create an environment that makes it easier. So like, it's almost like doing karaoke. It'll go 3, 2, 1, and the dialogue comes up and you're watching the guy's mouth. So it's a lot of multitasking, but it's really exciting. I mean, it took me a while to get into it, but once you get into the flow and you get an idea of your character, it's really awesome. But the struggle is you get thrown in the deep end. You don't get like a brief before. So you're just getting to know your character as you go. So yeah, that's why I think it makes certain actors not as comfortable, because it's not ideally how you want to be working. But I'd say it's more like, it's like improv voice work. So you're learning on the go, and as you get better at it.
Sure.
So I enjoy it. It's like being in a karaoke for actors, I'd say.
So it's sight reading. You don't get to watch the movie first, understand the story, and you have to see when your character's going and jump in when they're coming in.
Exactly. I mean, we'll get a bit of a brief in the beginning. So he's this kind of guy, reading with this kind of voice, and I'll work in a little bit, and then boom, go. So yeah, it's quite a ride. I mean, they've come a long way. I mean, when I first started out, you used to have to read off an iPad the dialogue, and you'd be looking up like this, and you're like, oh. So that was tough. So now that it's on the screen, it's way better.
So the script has to be written really well so that it fits in within the guy's talk.
Exactly. So that's also something they've learned to get better at, is how to get enough dialogue in And then sometimes I've got to work on it a little bit if maybe the guy's mouth is still flapping whilst but I'm finished. So I've got to like lengthen it out. Or we've got to add in a few words. Yeah, so it's like voiceover boot camp, I think.
So that's quite different to doing
acting.
adverts for
Yes.
radio or TV.
Yeah. What I have learned recently, though, as a friend of mine was working on the demo with me last year, is that I don't know if this is correct teaching, but I found it very helpful because I was going into voiceovers without thinking about what I do with an acting script. When I study it, I break it down, almost overpowering the script with the idea of a hard sell or soft sell, and then getting stuck in one monotone voice or one style. And he said to me, forget about this, if it's hard or soft. Yes, that's correct, but you need to be thinking of it as an actor. And your acting works great when you're relaxed. I know, and you know what you're doing. When I hear your voiceover work, you're great. But when you overthink it and you're trying to push something, it all falls apart. So approach it like you would an acting script. So I've learned a lot with voiceover is with voice ads, don't think about the commercial of it as much as approach it as you would with the character. And if someone's going to relate to this voice, be influenced by it, then you'd be, need to be able to connect with it, even though you are selling something in the end of the day.
You're still a character. If you're enjoying this interview, give it a thumbs up. How is it different to acting on stage or in a film?
So maybe that's I think where I understood what I would do as in terms of voice acting is what I wasn't bringing into voice over ads is I must bring more of my characterization and script breakdown into the work. What you got to do in terms of voice overs is you got to create the world. So you're engaging that much more with the imagination. You're engaging that much more with your tonality, the structure of the voice, because now you can't rely on facial expression. You got to use that voice to bring all the nuances and the beat changes and the whole overall arc within that to the audience. It's harder now in being in a visual means, and people are so used to that. Where I think you probably got to work even harder now as a voice artist, I'd imagine. If I think about my parents' generation before that TV, they were listening. They were so used to that. As an actor, yeah, you ultimately got to bring that world through the voice, which you can't do now that you're limited.
How did the pandemic change the way you worked last year? Did you get yourself a home studio?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Well, I borrowed my brother's microphone because he's got an amazing USB mic, a Yeti. And I use that. Yes or no, because it's not mine. So I'm going to buy a mic. But I did some research and then I built a little voice box thing that I studied online. And I know certain people say don't use egg boxes, but I couldn't get that foam at the time. Put like layers and layers within this box, and I had built it at an angle, and it actually worked really well. And I used that for recordings, and I did a few voiceover competitions online. Made a new voice tape for a studio. So I did what I could. I didn't do as much work, I think, as if I could have had built my own studio, which some actors did do. So I'd like to still do that, to get it innovative. And I enjoyed making the voice box thing, which is how brilliant it is or not. I need to take it to sound engineer, but I think it's quite good.
What program were you using? Audio editing program?
Audacity. Yes. I've used Audacity. Yeah, which is pretty user-friendly, I find.
How do you prepare before a voice gig?
Well, that's definitely the learning outcome I came out with last year through practicing and spending more time in it, is interpreting the script. So, like I said earlier, I made the mistake of just hard sell and or soft sell. This, too stereotypical, just you can't relate to that. So breaking it down, finding the beat changes like I would in any acting script, and finding with the changes, finding the words that need to be emphasized, highlighting those, and understanding, obviously, in the end of the day, what is being sold and how to lead the audience into that. It's finding the natural in the voice and the authenticity. So finding the balance between that, because I think that's the hardest thing with the voice ad, is how to sell something. It's the same as like commercials, how to sell something, but without overselling it and still making it relatable. So the person's going to want to be influenced by you and brought into it, which I'm seeing more in commercials themselves, like TV commercials, is they're bringing that much more of short film into it. I think as the industry gets more competitive in advertising, where before it was enough to sell something, now it's like people are seeing so much content on Netflix, they're not really interested in seeing adverts. So they've got to get more innovative in the way they tell a story. So it'd be interesting to see how that influences voiceovers, but I think, well, voice ads, which probably, yeah, I guess voice ads probably going in a similar direction. I don't know if that might be incorrect. I mean, people are always going to listen to the radio, so I think that's fine. That's a style within itself, you know. Anyways, I digress. Point, yes, like I said, is that's how I approach voiceover acting.
Do you warm up your voice before you start?
I struggle with a bit of TMJ at night, so I've got to really work at doing my articulators. Like, so I got to massage my jaw, which isn't helpful. So
DMJ?
so that's like when you clench your jaw at night. I don't have a bad case, but I do have a bite plate. So that's something very important for me to be aware of as an actor and voice actor. If it's tight, that's going to affect the speech. It's quite a common thing, but certain people can have it quite bad. Luckily, it's not too bad for me.
So what do? You have to relax your jaw muscles before you start acting or talking.
Yes, it's not necessarily that bad. It's just that I just got to be aware of it. So like the joints here could be a little bit more tense than they should be. Yeah, and that you should do anyway to warm up, you know, and to loosen the jaw. And then I do different resonance, articulation to warm up. Yeah, so different pitch, obviously, and tongue twisters.
What's your favorite tongue twister?
That's a good question. Probably, yes. She sat at the balcony door, inexplicably mimicking him hiccuping and amicably welcoming him in. Oh, even got stuck there. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. It's from high school, and I've known it for so long.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not a theatre actor. I have no memory. I cannot remember anything.
No, that's a lie. If you're working with voiceovers, I'm sure you can.
No, that's why I read on my script.
Oh, yeah. I could teach you a great line memorization technique if you have time.
Well, yeah,
It's really easy.
do.
It's by a great acting coach that in Canada, Matthew Harrison, that comes out actually once a year. Didn't last year. I mean, didn't this year with COVID, but learning the script in a completely new way, obviously, because as an actor, you never want to learn a script in a certain way. You're never going to be open to something changing. And you just beat the lines out as you say it on the syllable, like, how are you today? I'm great, thank you. So you just learn it in a very neutral way, and the idea is with the brain, because you're engaging physically and with the voice, it helps with muscle memory and brain muscle memory. I can't remember the exact science, but it works.
Wow.
I've done it with a lot of students. Some don't like it, some like it, but I know it works. And the whole idea is you just get the lines out the way as quickly as possible, and it gets. And before I know it, I can be looking at the script a few times, and then I've got that line in. You're literally like beating it out. You don't hit, you don't want to beat yourself. It can even be a light tap.
Are you nervous before a performance on stage? And does that also happen with voice acting, or not at all?
Yo, that's a great question. I'd say yes, I am. I'm nervous before any performance, film, stage, voiceover, especially before those first words are spoken. Any first performance. Well, not nervous, but being nervous is always a good thing because it means you care about the performance. It's a good thing. You want it to go well. As much as I think as a performer gets used to performing, it's always got that rush just before. And we adrenaline junkies, it's like just before, but it's about channeling that energy out. As long as you don't feedback too much, it's when you channel out, you have your outward focus, that you start focusing on the scene in front of you, or the dialogue in front of you, or the microphone in front of you, whatever it's like what you're about to do. Then I think that those nerves can be channeled in a positive sense. I think what can be hard though is if you're struggling with like dry mouth, or that tends to affect your voice, especially in voice acting, that I think it's going to hit you up. But that's where your warm up comes in. That's when those things are going to become less of an issue.
What do you recommend for dry mouth?
Have a glass of water, definitely. And I always do tongue rotations and just go, and I just try to release that tension. So I do that. Yeah, and I just try and focus on, especially with acting, like focus on the actor that I'm about to engage with. Make it about them. So as a voice actor, make it about the script, make it about the story, to try and get myself get my ego and myself out the way. So my insecurities are getting overridden by the fact that I'm here to serve the story. I'm here to serve my fellow actor and bring life to the story, let it breathe through me. So to try and get myself out the way as quickly as possible.
That's amazing advice, actually.
It's hard because it's you always, but the quicker we can get ourselves out the way and make it about something else, the better we perform.
What would be your one piece of advice for somebody starting out in voiceover or acting?
I'd say don't make the mistake I made. Bring acting training to it. Study the script. Don't get stuck in the fact that it's a hard sell, soft sell. Yes, that's a style, but don't let it become the style of each line, right? And get try and bring who is this person in the script? Because that scriptwriter wrote the copy. Yes, he's maybe not writing for film or TV or theatre, but he's written with an idea of someone in mind. Who is that person? Obviously, get some training. So even if you're not an actor, do a voiceover course, whether it be online or in person. I think if you can, in person at a studio, so you can get a nice inclusive package of the voice recording. Don't be discouraged if you don't get work at first. It's very competitive. There's plenty of voiceover artists out there. I think try and get some sort of representation. Always helps if you can. Obviously, there's lots of platforms online that you can have your voice on there, on your voice platforms, but I think representation helps. And as an actor, I guess my advice is do train. So some people just fall into the industry, which is fine. I mean, there's room for that. Although that frustrates actors most of the time. It's like, you haven't trained? What? But I think it happens around the world. But even those people who fall into acting need some sort of training. They're either training on set, they've got a personal coach, whatever it may be, and be humble as an actor. I think that's the most important thing. Don't make it about yourself. It's the same thing what I was saying about approaching text, and this is great advice I got through that coach, Matthew Harrison, that he teaches, is you're there to serve a story. So make it about the story. You're there to bring life to this character, not how you want to see the character, but how is the character being written and what is the vision? How can you as the actor get out of your own way and not make it about your ego, but be about what is the story I'm here to serve? And how can I, with the abilities I have, my actor's instrument, bring that to life in a way that serves and brings integrity to the project?
How do you get voiceover work?
My work has mostly come through my agent. And there have been a few studios that don't act as an agent, but they have different people on their books. So if clients contact them, then they'll recommend you. So if there's an opportunity for that where you have networks with different studios, do have your voice with them. And now I'd say, which I haven't even opened up the Pandora's box of, is online. I'd say there's so much out there. I still need to do my research, so I wouldn't want to advise on that yet of what. And I could ask you and others, like, what platforms to look at, because I'm sure there's so many now, and you probably got to be careful of guys who are ripping people off or bad rates or whatever it is, but to find good ones online all throughout the world. A good piece of advice I got, though, was if you're a new voice artist, don't go straight into getting a voice studio and spending lots of money. First get a demo, work on it, and then build up a bit of work, then get a studio, and before you spend the money, because you want to see if not everyone can actually do it. And even I've heard this about actors, it's just because you're an actor doesn't mean you might be a good voice actor. And it's like, oh, okay, didn't know that. But you have to kind of think, oh, what am I? You got to check in with yourself. Am I a better actor as opposed to voice actor? Because now you got to be good with the voice. Check in with yourself with those things. Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I don't want to discourage anyone. Go down the road, but I'd say take steps slowly, like anything. Don't buy all the equipment. First get that course done and a demo, like a voice demo, and then take it from there.
And where can people reach you if they want to chat or ask questions or just find out about you?
You can reach me on Facebook. I do have my own acting page, so it's Rowan Studti Productions. I do other things, so they can get in touch with me there or via email, rstudti@gmail.com.
We'll put it all down there. Tell me about the murder mysteries. That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, okay. So my wife and I, we started Dinners to Die For, doing murder mystery in-person dinners in 2018. And that's been running successfully around Cape Town. Yeah, very successfully, and private functions and corporates. And then last year we thought, well, let's go online. And we tested the waters and we booked a few locally. And then we got in touch with a company in the UK that were doing escape rooms online. And we pitched to them about doing our murder mystery with them online. And we ran a few test calls, and then they launched a marketing campaign. And the whole of December was mad. We had like 30 end of year corporate functions, and we had to hire like 20 different actors because we had multiple calls sometimes, and we had to write a new script. So we had a scriptwriter. It was just amazing. And then we had voiceover. We had voiceover in it, immersing the clients into it. Now we've had a budget now where we could actually footage. So we do shared screen on Zoom, and it immerses the client into the experience like through a video, and then the detective arrives on the call once the murder's happened, and there's like virtual backgrounds, and then there's like a coroner's report and a radio report that comes up. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
I thought you were just involved with them. I didn't realize you're the organizer. You do them.
Yes, we were running it with I was contracted in now and again to run them for a corporate guy that does a whole bunch of team building offerings. And then eventually I said, would it be okay if we ran this ourselves on the entertainment side? And he said, sure. And he gave us his blessing. And he said, but please still do work for me. And so we still do them when he gets bookings, but it's not his main thing. And now we've upped the whole offering. So we try and bring more of the theatre to it and immerse everyone into the experience in person as well. So like now, we when we do it in person, then we have actors playing the suspects, and then the client plays, or the customer, like at the restaurant, plays the investigators, and they form different teams at their tables. So it's really fun. It's really cool, and the whole experience is ironically through COVID enhanced immensely, which is amazing. Yeah.
I suppose people are in need of entertainment and something different.
Yeah, no, completely. Now what's amazing is like, as companies are still needing to do things virtually, they're only in office like at most 50% of the time. So they need things virtually to do team building and so on. And then on the upside, people are so hungry now for in-person entertainment. So our whole public events have taken off again locally. So yeah, and now we're getting to work in another country in the UK, which we couldn't have done easily before. And we've had even a few calls where people are in other parts of the world on that same call. So it's really fun. Yeah, it's really cool.
That is amazing. Yeah. COVID had some advantages in some places.
Yeah, no, it has. There's been some great stories out of the adversity.
Yeah. So let's give it a plug. What is the website? How can people reach you for the murder?
Oh, thank you. On Facebook, it's Dinners to Die For. And then our website is dinnerstodiefor.com. And Insta is dinners.to.die.for.
Cool. While we're talking here to voiceover people and actors of all kinds, do you hire actors and voiceovers for it? If you need to do auditions, can they contact you for that?
Yeah, definitely. We kind of at capacity right now because we've got 25 actors strong, but definitely by, I'd say October would be a good time to contact us, because then I think the demand will go up again. It's been a bit up and down this year, but as the demand comes in for end of year functions with corporates, I'm sure there's going to be even more events this year. So we would welcome people contacting us to run calls. And I mean, people can be in other parts of the country. We've got actors in Johannesburg, even though we're in Cape Town. So we try and meet people in person as much as possible, but doesn't mean if we can't, doesn't mean we won't work with you.
Thanks for taking the time to speak to us. That was really interesting. We learned a lot.
Well, thanks for having me. It was great to be here virtually. Great to connect with you. Appreciate it. And I hope that any advice I've given it will be helpful to others and will be part of your series. And I'll check it out properly now.
And be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of the following episodes.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. That's awesome.
Cheers. That was Talking Voiceovers. I hope you enjoyed this interview.